Hey, everyone. I guess it's time. Maybe I'm late. I'm very bad about timing today, I guess. I don't know. Kevin has, I can't hear anyone.
I had myself muted.
Sorry.
Oh, hello. Hello,
Life
Kevin.
difficulties.
I like your avatar. It's very interesting. Like the suit, the hat, everything.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I was it was a custom avatar I had made for. Well, it's a logo for my band, but I just use it here too.
Very cool. How you doing, Sammy?
Good, mate. Very good. Your show got me thinking tonight.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I hope that's positive.
Mm.
Yeah. So so this is my first. I'm doing orientation today for my job. Am I excited about going back to work? Yeah, I guess I am.
It can be a little daunting depending how long it's been.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, I worked like a ton of hours before I left my job last September. So it's only been October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 7 months. So I'm sure I'm going to have to kick off the rust a little bit, right?
No, but I'm sure someone like yourself will get right back into it.
Yes. Well, I think so. Yeah. I do have a tendency of thinking about things in behaviorally, right? I mean, it isn't just the undergraduate degree and the graduate work I've done, but I think about behavior a lot. As you can tell from the show, I think about the best ways of changing not only my own behavior, but in terms of policies and how's the best way to manage to ameliorate dickish behavior. Oh, thanks, Tobin. Yeah. So, hey, and who's Advocate? Kevin Chaos Advocate. I think I got two of you here in the backstage, Sammy. And now Sammy's gone. It's just me and Kevin.
They may be trying to do like I sometimes have to with a backup device or something.
Yeah, that's possible. Hey, you're back. Maybe you're back, Sammy. Yeah, so excited about the job. Like I said, it's my kid's birthday and everything today. It's going to be a little hectic, a little chaotic, but we're in the chaos business here.
I certainly am.
Yeah. So, dude, tell me about your band. What do you do?
Well, I'm in a couple bands right now. My main project is called the Trusty Apes. We're currently working with a new lineup, kind of, and working some new sounds out, new songs. But basically, we're in the process of recording. We're hoping to be able to start live gigging again. We're gonna plan a party on July 4th. There'll be appropriate social distancing. But that's kind of where we've been at. We've been on just doing projects in the studio over the last year, so.
Right. Yeah. Do you have a site for the band?
We have a Facebook page. There's a Bandcamp. It's just Bandcamp Trusty Apes. There's like 3 songs up there now, but we're going to be releasing a lot more.
Cool. Trusty Apes, everyone, on Facebook. What kind of music do you do? I guess that's
it's hard rock. Some of it's kind of heavy metal. I don't really like to use that term too much, but it's heavy rock.
Right. So if you were gonna say it's like, what band would you?
We're kind of like, I would say, how do I describe? I don't know. I would say it's eclectic, because we have influences from punk and grunge as well as the heavy metal scene.
Right.
So closest maybe I could think of maybe like a blend between something like Man, I don't even know who to compare us to right now, honestly.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
trying. I think we have a pretty original sound, so that's good. But um, my influences personally are like Nirvana
Oh yeah.
and and although like late wave '80s punk, early '90s punk. But we have a significantly heavier like double bass and stuff like that. So
Okay. I saw back in the day. I saw Iron Maiden play with Anthrax. Anthrax
right,
had half the show. Maiden did half the show. I was more of the Maiden guy. There was definitely an age, two different demographics of white dudes. There was the younger guys and the older guys. Um, yeah, so I've seen Maiden play a couple of times live. Not exactly a high tech show, but always entertaining.
yeah, those guys always put on a great show. I mean, I've never seen them in person, but you can just tell even in the videos, like just how energetic it is. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, what was the best live show you ever been to?
Oh man, that's tough. I do have to give it to I saw Slayer,
Mhm.
Megadeth, and Testament. That was amazing. That's one of the best live shows I've ever been to for sure.
Cool, cool. I would say for me, the live show that I had the most fun at, I'll say this, was probably the Tom Petty Bob Dylan concert I saw once again, like a long time ago. It was down here just south of Boston at an outside venue, and beautiful summer night hanging out with my friends. I was in high school, and that was probably the most fun I ever had at a concert. Was it the best concert? Maybe, maybe not, but it was definitely the most enjoyable one I was at.
It's so hard to pin that down too, because I have to say, as far as visuals in a performance, Tool like takes the
Yeah.
cake. Tool is just amazing too. So
Mhm. Cool, cool. Yeah. So yeah. All right. I'll see you later, John Hudson. John Hudson in the chat says he's got to run. I'll see you later, man. So, did you grow up in a religious background? Did you have a religious background, Kevin?
I did not. No, I was raised pretty much to think for myself.
Hmm.
I My mom is now religious and she's trying to convert me. So I think that's kind of interesting there. But I was never raised like that. I did have some time kind of studying with some Christians who are friends of mine, but we were never able to uh, like they were never able to convince me. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, if you don't mind talking, if you feel comfortable talking about it, so what do you think made your mom convert?
I do think in some ways it has to do with me
Mhm.
because I came out in my teens as a non-believer and started kind of discussing this stuff with people, and the more hardline I was about my non-belief, the more she started going to church. So it's been a kind of a steady progression there.
Wow. Well, that's interesting, huh? I don't think I've heard that type of story before about how a parent will become more religious due to their kid becoming more vocally atheist. That's interesting.
It's also, I mean, it's not just the one thing. We've got a weird dynamic. So my mom had her second child, my little brother, uh, when just as I was leaving the house at age 18, and I then had my first child a year later. So she was definitely rethinking her perspective on parenting and all of that. So it has to do with influencing my younger brother with religion and stuff like that.
Right. That's what I found, dude. I feel like we've been talking now for at least 10 minutes. Now I can use the dude term.
Oh
That's what
yeah,
I found is that parents, when they have, when they start having kids, that's when they almost get into this panic, right? They get into this panic like, oh, what am I going to do? I can't mess this kid up. So what am I going to do? Send him to church.
Yeah, and I have the benefit of being the trial run for both my parents, where they can be like, "Oh, we seriously fucked this kid up. What are we gonna do now?" I'm sorry for swearing it.
Yeah. That's interesting. That is interesting. Like you are the kid 1.0, and so that is this is the other kid like the upgrade? Is that how they're trying to view this as?
Well, I think that was the plan. Of course, it didn't work out for my dad at all. So yeah, my dad has a whole other family, and so the next youngest sibling, my next youngest brother, is actually in prison right now. He's
Oh,
going to
wow.
be doing, he's going to be doing many years. He committed a pretty heinous crime out in New York.
Mhm.
So I think he kind of upped the bar, like as badly as I messed up, that kind of, reset the standards. But yeah, I'm still the original black sheep. So
I'll have to tell you now that I'm interacting with my birth family, because I was adopted and I'm just, really just engaging with my birth family now. It does put, I always thought I always thought I got a raw deal growing up, but now making these comparisons, it's like maybe it wasn't that bad. It could have been worse.
yeah, exactly.
So, how old's your kid?
My oldest is now just turned 13.
Oh wow, 13, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I have four, so ranging from 9 to 13.
4.
Yeah, I had twins, so in between there to
Oh,
explain that.
all
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right. Because I'm sure that you've heard my theory before. Whenever I see more than 2 kids, I'm thinking, is it a cult? I don't know.
Yeah, well, it certainly could have been, but no, we're not cohesive right now, unfortunately. So that's just whatever.
Right. I found my most difficult time with my son, or let me tell you, there's been a lot of difficult times with my son, but I felt that 12 was a tough age, just for me and my kid. Probably the age of 3 and 12. Those were 2 difficult ages between the 2 of us.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I definitely I'm not involved enough with my teenager right now to like
Mhm.
to, that part of it. Just the distance between us at this point is really the hardest part for me. So, but I imagine it would be really difficult for me as a father of a teenage daughter to there's probably a lot of issues I'm not really prepared for right now.
Right. Yeah. Here we sit. Sammy, good to see you back.
Sorry, guys. What did I miss?
Just talking, man. Talking about kids,
Mm.
music, kids, life, atheism, the regular stuff.
Okay. I'm actually hotspotting my iMac off my phone because I've
Oh,
lost
really?
internet for some reason. Yeah, right at a very inopportune moment because I did
Right.
have a little bit of a rant that I wanted to have.
Oh, a rant. So please rant. This is a safe space for
Yeah.
rants.
This is a semi-style rant, so it probably won't get much above this volume, but
Okay.
just what that whole show basically, brilliant show by the way,
Oh, thank you.
always is, hence why I'm a member. Shill.
Yeah, thank you.
But so it got me thinking about dealing with or having to restrain people, and just how in our industry, and I imagine it's the same for you, whilst we can be very close as workers, if we see something wrong, people won't hesitate to report it.
That's true.
Not a hesitation. The whole focus, or a major part of the industry, is reporting.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the biggest policed or audited things that as a company owner have to go through is my reporting, and show that I'm reporting the right things, and when I should, and things like that. And that culture just seems to be missing from anything. I'm going to say it. I know it's very broad, but government. And I say that because it's not just the police force. For instance, here in Australia, I don't know how much we get in your news, but our Prime Minister, essentially at the moment, well, let's just say we will be getting a new Prime Minister regardless. Oh, really? He can't be saved. So much so that Rupert Murdoch, who has been a staunch advocate or proponent of the Australian Liberal Party, the Conservative Party, has actually sort of rumor has it that he's sort of, giving his backing to Labor, because he knows that Liberal's gone. He thinks that it's going to be like another. He's basically, he said he can live with another Bob Hawke, which was a famous Australian Labor leader. But anyway, he's gone because the scandals that are coming out about our parliament and what happens literally inside the parliament building, and the culture, the misogynistic partying that goes on there, like photos of ministerial helpers up on tables with no pants on. Yeah. Swinging their clothes around and stuff.
I feel that's like going to a dawn party as an undergraduate.
And admittedly, like, this is, after hours and whatnot, but this is in our parliament building. But it gets worse. So a young lady came forward and claimed that she had been raped in Parliament House, in one of the offices. And as the stories come out more and more, something did happen because the security guards did find a naked woman in an office on a lounge and just closed the door and carried on their merry way. Which...
I don't even know what to say to that, Sammy.
So now our Prime Minister come out and trying to reset, and save a bit of face. Well, originally was basically saying, well, there's no proof. So, not believing the victim. But then coming back and saying, well, I went home and my wife said to me, Scott, you've got to look at it from as though this was one of your daughters. And I've thought about it now, and, I wasn't looking at it the right way. And we just made our Australian of the Year was a proponent for rape victims and a rape survivor. She had that quote put to her. And she said, well, it's a bit sad that in 2021, it takes our Prime Minister to have daughters to understand how rape works.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so our poor Prime Minister's attempt to, fix it.
Right.
Just... and so a lot more women have come forward, and now higher up women ministers, like actual women on the ministerial cabinet, admitting what's going on there because they've had enough too. So it
Sammy,
feels
did this
like
start with like the Me Too movement, like we have going on. Okay.
Yep.
I'm just
And
looking at.
similarly, we're having a similar movement amongst our Indigenous Australians, tied in with the Black Lives Matter. So it feels like, although we've always been fighting for these things, that people are now going, hang on, it's 2021 and we're still racist and we're still misogynistic.
Yeah.
So hopefully, it's a sign, but that's my rant anyway.
Dude,
Finish on a positive note.
I just did a cursory, 2-second Google search for Australian Parliament sex scandal, and BBC. It's what this is from March. I'm just going to read this one sentence. As well as the videos filmed 2 years ago, he said, the source said the prayer room, that people use the prayer room to have sex and even brought sex workers into Parliament.
Mm.
In the prayer
room.
In the prayer room.
Love it.
God-fearing Christians, I'm sure, too.
Oh, yeah. We've got to remember the Conservatives are in power.
Right. Dude, that is so crazy. No, Sammy, I hadn't even heard about it. Not even on my radar. Not even on my radar.
And what's coming out, which, we all assume, but it's just beautiful to hear it. And especially coming from powerful women's lips, but that there's no, especially in Parliament, there's no policing. There's no law as such to this stuff.
Sure.
Because it's an entity unto itself.
Right.
It's sort of, and the battle that's happening is they're saying, well, you're responsible as the Prime Minister, and he's saying, no, this is a criminal matter, and the police are saying, well, no, this is a you matter, and no one wants to touch it with a 40-foot pole. So
wow. If that isn't a reason to fire politicians or to vote them out of office and put real criminal charges against them, and also to show that there is a structural problem too. It isn't just a question of people, individual people. It's a question of a structural problem. But how do you deal with people? How do you deal with an institution that members of the institution feel like they're untouchable?
Well, I guess we need to expose them.
Oh yeah.
And it takes brilliant, brave people like that first rape victim who came forwards. And as you can imagine, she was fired and she was dragged through the mud in the media and she was victim blamed and, just wanting attention and.
Yep. Yeah. If you don't get angry about that, I don't know what you would get angry about, man. If you're going to do a rant, I don't know what else you would get. What is rantable? That is not rantable. I don't know.
And I know it sort of got a little bit off the track from what your show was about, but just that different culture that exists in places like Parliament and the police force, where they're covering for each other.
Yeah.
Rather than holding each other to account.
Definitely. Culture matters, right? Culture within an organization matters. So for those of you who don't work in the human service field, I remember that whenever I did have to put hands on someone, there was a paperwork to be done. There was everyone involved. There was what happened before the incident, what happened during the incident, what happened after the incident. There'd be people you would have to call, people you'd have to talk to. Yeah. It is a system where there are checks and balances and oversight. Adults are in the room. That's the impression that I always got working those kind of facilities, that there were adults in the room.
It's almost we have. It's kind of a buzz phrase, but it's a very integral part to. I guess you'd call it human services, is choice and control. So a person's right to make their own choices and not be told, so that institutional thinking is gone from Australia.
Yeah.
And I lost my point, but
Well, it's
carry
interesting.
on, and I'm sure it'll come back.
Sure. Scott Duke asked, it steps to de-escalate the situation. When we talk about giving, it's called the least restrictive, least restrictive methods on the person. And to tell you the truth, my experience doing residential work has informed my practice as a father, right? Interacting with my kids about, just like one of the things that you learn is about offering people menus, right? To give them as much control as possible in their own lives. So you just list off, so what do you want to do? And if they can't wrap their minds about what they want to do, you just offer a couple of items, like a drop-down menu, right? Would you like to do A? Would you like to do B? Would you like to do C? And that gives them some control over the situation.
Exactly.
So, and that also helps activate their frontal lobes here. It helps them, that executive functioning click in. So especially when someone's getting when they're agitated or close to agitation or full out aggression, if you can just give them 3 choices or 2 choices about what they would like to do, and they can choose one, that helps activate their frontal lobes and help them start thinking again.
Exactly. So think about that perspective of choice and control and advocating for, as opposed to detain and control and I can't even think of the words because I don't think in that direction.
Right. Yeah. I mean, here Jesse Bear says giving people a sense of self autonomy is essential. Yeah. People feeling powerful, people feeling like they own their own lives. Yeah, that's important. So giving, like I said, giving people a series of choices that they can choose from. And then, sometimes, so I'll tell you the story, right? I'll tell you a story. I'm sure you got a ton of stories too, Sammy, from the field. But when I first started out, I was working in this boys' home. I'm not going to use any names, of course, though this was 25 years ago. And so there was a kid who just decided to go on strike. He just decided to sit down on the kitchen table. He's like, I'm not going to do my chores. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit here. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know what to do. I feel like I need to do something right now. So I started talking with the kid, and then I realized, well, I'm just going to give the on-call person a call. And I learned a really important lesson that day. It's like, so I'm talking to my boss, and she's like, so is he doing anything, violent? It's like, no, he's just sitting there at the kitchen table. It's like, all right, well, if he's not doing anything violent, then just let him sit there. It's like, really? Well, he's supposed to be doing all these other things. And he's like, yeah, it's not worth it. Just let him do it. He's working out something. And we will address the issue after he's done and he's ready to talk, but he is not ready to talk right now. And so we're just going to just let him sit there, Andy. It's like, all right, done. And the thing is that the trick is not getting into a power struggle with someone unnecessarily, right? Mm-hmm. There are many times you do not have to get into a power struggle with your 13-year-old kid or that person you work with, and there's avoiding a power struggle, which seems to be absolutely the wrong thing to do on YouTube, by the way. I feel I'd be a lot more popular if I just went on other people's channels and crapped all over them and told them what they were doing wrong. And it's like, I don't think that's not really what I've been trained to do. That's not what my experience says is the most productive thing to do. It's just, pick your battles. And is it really necessary to get involved and escalate a situation? I don't think,
And while you've got that going on, you also need to weigh up their dignity of risk against your duty of care. and
Oh,
there's
yeah.
no hard and fast line,
Yeah.
which is what I sort of tell my staff all the time. I'm, you know, when you do the training that we have here in Australia, you'll ask a question, but you'll never get a straight answer because there really isn't one when it comes to things like someone runs out onto the road. Do you grab them and pull them back, or do you let them go?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no right answer to that, because I know as a human that I'm just instinctively going to grab them and reef them back, because
Yeah.
a scrape or a bruise is going to be better than death. And I probably wouldn't have even processed the thought. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn around and punish a staff member for not standing by and letting them run out onto the road.
Right. I
But
think yeah, go ahead.
I wouldn't, conversely, if a staff member thought they were going to be in danger themselves, or for whatever reason didn't take action, it would be the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the things that, from working in the field is real that I've gotten, that I've learned over the years is really learning to identify the triggers of people getting agitated and the signs before they go into full blown meltdown. Hey, Sonic, by the way, you're muted, by the way, brother, or sister, or whoever you are. I just want to let you know that.
Hey everyone, I just want to say real quick, I'm going to be watching, but I got to jump out. But thank you so much for the convo.
Okay, cool. Thanks for popping in. But yeah, just being able to identify when someone's getting revved up, that's an important skill to have. You can appreciate this, Sammy. A buddy of mine, and I don't know if he's made this public, so I won't use his name, but he messaged me the other day. He works in an inpatient facility, and he got cold clocked by a client just out of nowhere. So you can do everything right. You can do everything right. You don't know what's going on in other people's heads. And this guy pounded his head 3 times before it stopped.
Wow.
Minor, concussion, corneal, scraping, cornea scraping.
So big hits.
Big hits. Yeah, big hits. Because you know this, right? There's a lot of big people. There's a lot of big people out there. And so, he showed me a pic of him in the hospital. I was like, dude, I hope you're okay. He doesn't have a cracked skull or anything like that. And I think his scans came out good, but that's the kind of risk that you do when you're doing that kind of work. And you can do everything right. And this is another hard lesson for parents right there too, or people who work in the field. You can do everything right, and then it all just falls to crap anyway.
Yep. Absolutely. And one of the biggest things, it's actually a little cheat here for anyone who happens to stumble across this video. One of my interview questions is about what were we talking about?
The violence?
Yes.
Paperwork?
Nah, it's gone. It'll come back to me as soon as you start talking again.
Well, that just gives me license to talk then, Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I would say that actually working in human services has also definitely has informed me being a skeptic too. I'm much more willing to be like, being non-judgmental, and I'm a judgmental fuck, to tell you the truth. Anyone who knows comedy scene, you got to be judgmental in a lot of ways. But
I'm Australian.
Right, so you understand. But I'm much more comfortable being putting pins in things and waiting to see what the person does or says about things before just shooting my mouth off. And I think that's from working in the field too.
Pretty wise.
Yeah. and when I do say something, I try to formulate the words carefully. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's language and communication tools are massive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the things I've learned, the little bit of sign language I've picked up.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yes. No. I don't know what it's like. This is American Sign Language, so weird words I picked up.
that I've had. You call them participants as well. You use the same term, yeah. A much more inclusive term than previous names. I'll say that much.
Yes. A better term. Definitely.
I've worked at places that use the phrase consumer, the term consumer, and yeah, I don't know. This is like someone, buying groceries or something.
Sounds an awful lot like capitalism to me. That's what it sounds like. And I don't know. I don't know if that's healthy language.
Yeah, no.
But yeah. And it's interesting because sometimes the language will change from organization to organization. So when I was talking with people about this job that I'm doing, that I'm getting oriented with today, I went with basic participant, and that seemed to work well. Yeah,
much more inclusive. But this one particular participant didn't have funding for any fancy devices or anything, so just had a board that his home had made for him with letters printed on it, and he'd point to letters very haphazardly, so it was quite a task to communicate.
Right, a basic message board he would just put.
But just to get one sentence out could sometimes be 15 minutes. If you didn't know him, and get used to the way his finger was pointing. So when he's pointing to this letter, he's actually pointing to this letter, and so on. And I mean that he was actually my first participant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I almost gave up. I thought I couldn't do it.
Well, that's tough for your first person that you're working with.
Because he would get frustrated at me not understanding as you would. But I'm glad I stuck it out because I run my own company now and
that's good, dude.
Doing quite well. Yeah.
Excellent. Good for you. Right.
So,
good morning. Answers in atheism. He's popped in the chat. Yeah. I'm happy. I'm happy to be in the field. Yeah.
It's probably the first job that I really felt fulfilled in my job.
That's good. Not having your job cause you to bleed from the eyes or you have to like bend over backwards in cognitive dissonance and try to say, well, I'm working for an equal organization, but blah 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 blah, and insert apologetics,
Yeah, which has been every retail job I've ever had, and every other job I've had essentially was me driving to work nauseous.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's hard.
Not wanting to go.
Yeah.
Just hating it that much that it, made me physically sick with anxiety.
That's difficult. That's That's difficult.
Even had jobs in this industry like that, just working for terrible people, you know, and seeing horrible things and people being taken advantage of. And
I'll say this, and I've said this before, is that most of the issues I've had working in this field haven't been with the participants, it's been with other professionals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I often say, and I don't know if this is a horrible thing to say, but I actually enjoy my time with participants more than I do with non-participants, we'll say.
Well, that's an interesting.
Other than perhaps a few people on YouTube and my immediate family.
Right. Well, no, I hear what you're saying. I understand.
It's because even, you know, there are violent participants and psychosocial people that, you know, will clock you in the face and then laugh. But the vast majority are just human beings with a disability.
Yeah.
Be it intellectual or just physical. Or now, thankfully, Australia has taken mental health under the disability umbrella. So now mental health qualifies for our disability insurance.
Excellent.
Which is fantastic. But yeah.
One of the things that I've picked up too from working in the field is that now I'm looking, and you can hear it, how I talk on the regular show and I'm on other people's channels, is that I see everyone as somewhat being impaired. Myself, I think that's where some of the comedy comes from, and other people as, people who have bad brains, people who just, we're all victims of these kind of fallacies and how our brains are stitched together with paper clips and tape all the time. So yeah, it has definitely.
Exactly. As the Christians would like to say, every single brain is imperfect. We're all imperfect. We're all filthy sinners, but we're all imperfect.
Right. Yeah.
We're all broken.
But I wouldn't. This is it's interesting about how there's similarities as against to saying, and I'm going to go with Sam Harris on this one, right? If anything, the idea that we don't have free will and that we have these we have these bad brains, if anything, offers an opportunity for us to be more compassionate towards each other, right? So I think the Christian worldview takes this basic data and says you're bad, you're evil, you're going to go to hell, right? While the secular view on the same data goes, well, this is an opportunity to be more compassionate with each other, to be more compassionate towards ourselves, right? Ourselves. We get to be more compassionate towards ourselves as well as for other people.
Yep. And that actually brings us nicely round to why I want to advocate for people waking up, specifically from JW culture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because they are synonymous for that. God, I keep losing my track tonight.
Well, the thing is,
it's a really good point then too.
This is early morning for me, so this is me at my this is the best my brain's going to work.
Yeah,
right
and this
now.
is the worst for me. It's 1 a.m.
I
get a bed after this.
Right.
So I do apologize, everybody.
Well, there's no reason to apologize. This is the reason why I like broadcasting in the morning, is because I'm the most fresh and I think I make the most sense. When I was doing stand-up, it's like, well, the only thing I really have to do is remember my jokes, interact with people, And so it's not the most cognitively difficult thing I do in the course of a day. But this, having conversations and talking about news articles, that's much more of a heavy load cognitively speaking for me. So that's why I like doing it during the day.
Which is why I'm losing track.
Right.
As you can imagine. But
Sure.
at least see going early means Australians get to watch. So thank you, Andy.
Well, I'm glad.
Again.
I'm glad. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a reason why there's maybe 50% of the viewers, if not more, are international, right? Because this is prime time for them, nighttime for them. And a lot of people here in the States, they're working. They're like doing things. And so they can't really watch. But I prefer an international audience anyway, to tell you the truth. You get to hear crazy stories about people having sex in prayer rooms in Parliament. How is that not nutty?
Yeah. And we need somewhere to find out what's happening over there that's not from the news.
Yeah. It's an interesting dialogue between people here who do live in the States and people who live in other countries. It's a series of interesting conversations.
It's definitely, well, speaking from a personal point of view anyway, the internet has really changed the way we see other countries, you know. Like I've described America in the past as I used to see it like sort of a cool big brother.
Yeah.
But, you know, now not so.
Indeed. Well, you know what? I should get ready to go to this orientation thing that I'm doing because it starts at 11:45 today. And it's close enough to walk over. So I gotta shave at least, and make myself look like a people for people seeing me live.
Make yourself pretty.
I'm gonna make myself pretty. That's what I have to do. But this has been a good conversation. I don't get to talk a lot about shop stuff in terms of human service stuff. So
No,
this is good.
And I'll have coffee next time, so I don't keep losing track.
Don't mess up your sleep pattern. Whatever I know if I drink coffee, I could have disturbed sleep. I know that's something that happens with me.
I have to stop at 3 p.m. at the latest for that reason.
Yeah. This is true, Jesse Beer. Adult from the waist up. That's what I have right here. Adult from the waist up. And now I have to go and do the whole thing. So
yeah, I'm still adult from the waist up.
Right. All right.
I have no pants, but
good talking with you, Sammy. Thanks everyone for showing up today. Always fun. Always have a good time here on the after show. Take care, everyone. Oh man, I always hit the wrong button.